Democratic Party plank in this election is all about protecting and preserving democracy. Really? How? Especially given the Biden administration has proven itself to be the biggest threat to democracy. And the Dems are just getting started, folks. Should Harris become president, expect the U.S. Supreme Court to get stacked with Democratic-friendly judges, expect the elimination of the filibuster. These people don't love democracy. They despise it. And yet, if the polls are accurate, it would appear that this election might end up being a proverbial photo finish, especially when it comes to the crucial swing states of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and of course, the aforementioned Pennsylvania. But that's the big question, isn't it? Are the polls indeed accurate? For what it's worth, my gut feeling is that if there are no shenanigans when it comes to counting the ballots on Election Day, and that's a big if when it comes to certain electoral districts, then the 2024 election might very well be a replay of what happened in 1980. Just prior to Election Day in 1980, major polls suggested that the Democrats, under President Jimmy Carter, had a slight edge over Republican challenger Ronald Reagan. Alas, 1980 turned out to be a landslide for Reagan. Reagan captured 489 electoral votes to Carter's 49 electoral votes. Could we see the same outcome come November 5th? Have the pollsters got it completely wrong again? Well, stay tuned. In hindsight, Jimmy Carter was both ineffectual and woefully weak as president, but even the former peanut farmer stands as a presidential colossus in comparison to Kamala Harris. Seriously, is Kamala Harris really the best the Democrats have to offer? When she ran to be the Democratic Party's presidential nominee in 2020, her campaign was an unmitigated disaster and she quickly dropped out. And yet today, Kamala, with the passage of time, has somehow emerged as the gold standard? So much so that the primary process was replaced by a coronation? Hey, who needs all that messy voting stuff, eh? It's really overrated. And yeah, so much for that protecting and preserving democracy shtick. But in late June, it had become abundantly clear after the debate debacle that Joe Biden was mentally unfit for the job. Even for him to run a presidential campaign from his basement, just as he did in 2020, well, that would be tantamount to elder abuse. And yet, the more Miss Harris speaks, the more it becomes clear why she was a 2020 write-off. This woman is an empty pantsuit. This is someone so vacuous and so vapid that it is impossible for her to make coherent points or give direct answers to direct questions. And unlike Biden, dementia is not a factor when it comes to Kamala's incoherence. Well, I'm guessing here, of course. And yet, to borrow a Hollywood term, Kamala Harris has been reimagined as presidential material. Again, why? How? By the way, don't take my word for it when it comes to the VP's incoherence and cluelessness. Check out Kamala in her own words.
The governor and I, and we were all doing a tour of the library here and talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
What can be unburdened by what has been.
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 What we can see, what we believe can be, unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be, unburdened by who we have been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Where we can be, unburdened by where we have been, and unburdened by where we are right now.
Our college students. And let me just tell you, I love Gen Z. I don't know if some, I love Gen Z. So, okay, for the older adults, this is going to be a humbling thing I'm about to share with you. If someone is 18 years old today, they were born in 2005. Oh, yeah, check that out.
What?
Think about that for a minute.
I grew up understanding the children of the community are the children of the community.
Yikes. Is she hoping to fool us with this baffle gab? Are we supposed to be bamboozled into thinking that these pronouncements are supposedly profound? Apparently, Kamala Harris has deluded herself into thinking so, and don't expect her useful idiots in the mainstream media to call her out on this nonsense. They're actually protecting her. But for anyone with a single functioning brain cell, regardless of one's political posture, these statements and so many others uttered by Harris make for a heaping helping of word salad that remain, at the end of the day, undecipherable nonsense. Alas, when Kamala isn't talking, Kamala is laughing. And what a laugh. But really, what the hell's so funny? Not the price at the pump, that's for sure, nor a visit to the supermarket these days. So is this some sort of psychological defensive mechanism? Is this so much nervous laughter as opposed to genuine LOL laughter? Hey, who knows? Maybe given the proximity to Halloween, Kamala is channeling the cackling of a certain wicked witch. Regardless, it's downright embarrassing.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Hello.
I want to talk to you. Okay, I come first.
What? They want to know now.
Over there after
Enough.
Brown brush. I mean,
I was waiting for you to say it.
love goodness. You're like, how she always got to say you and
You may clap.
I'll try to say something kind here. She has beautiful teeth, but dental fortitude aside, that sonic assault, there's such a degree of familiarity to that laughter, no? Oh, wait a second, I remember. I'm thinking about these characters.
Make those messages clear.
Holy funny bone, Batman. Speaking of pop culture, I now come finally to the point of this monologue, which is this. When I reflect upon Kamala's inexplicable ascension to vice presidential power, and perhaps even presidential power, I can't help but think of the 1979 Peter Sellers movie, Being There. I think I've seen Being There more than 100 times. No, I'm not obsessed with this flick. Rather, I worked as a part-time usher at Toronto's dearly departed Hollywood Theatre when the film was originally released. Part of being an usher is to simply stand around in the dark watching the same movie over and over again. You pray the movie will be a good one, and Being There certainly makes the grade. Based on Jerzy Kosinski's satirical novel of the same name, Being There is about an illiterate gardener who lives his entire life behind the walls of a Washington, D.C. house. The man's only knowledge of the world comes from the TV shows he watches, from cartoons to handyman programs. When his employer dies, Chauncey Gardner is inexplicably catapulted into the fast lane of political power. This is not by design, mind you, rather thanks to a series of bizarre coincidences and misunderstandings and cosmic flukes. Chauncey is suddenly deemed to be leadership material. Soon, Chauncey's childlike utterances are misinterpreted as words of profound wisdom pertaining to everything from social to economic policy. Check out this excerpt from the trailer.
On television, Mr. President, you look much smaller.
Dumb as a jackass.
As long as the roots are not severed, all is well, and all will be well in the garden.
In the garden. Coffin, I'll leave some information on Mr. Chauncey Gardner's background. What do you mean he's got no background? That's impossible.
Listen to that boy.
Mr. Gardner, the New York Times spoke of your peculiar brand of optimism. What was your reaction to that?
I do not know what it means.
Oh, he was very clever, keeping it at a third grade level. That's what they understand.
He's very, very sexy. But I think he's brilliant. I raised that boy.
It's always somewhat surprising to find men like yourself working so intimately with the president and yet somehow managing to remain relatively unknown. Yes, it is surprising.
And look at him now.
I can't write.
I heard he speaks 8 languages.
I can't read. I like to watch TV.
Of course, there are profound differences between the real-life Kamala Harris and the fictional Chauncey Gardner. Chauncey had a good heart. He was completely unambitious. He was good-natured. He wouldn't hurt a fly. Heck, his only desire was to be left alone so that he could watch TV. As for Kamala Harris, she has always been a creature of profound ambition. It is an open secret that she got her start in California politics thanks to an affair with then San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown. Brown supported Kamala in her successful quest to become San Francisco District Attorney. Then again, maybe that was just a coincidence. I'm sure Kamala ascended to that position purely on merit as opposed to horizontal jogging with influential men.